Hi there, my name's Dan and I'm going to talk through sort of 2 or 3 points about setting up your bike, both for a turbo trainer and if you're just commuting. It's a couple of really simple things that you can do at home, usually with use of a partner. And I have a very good partner here that I'm going to demonstrate you with. There's a couple of things you will need. So you can buy one of these for a few quid. So you can go onto Amazon, it's called a goniometer. We'll pop that in the link below. They literally cost a couple of pounds, or frankly you can just use a protractor if you have one from your old math set. The other thing that you need is, or that's very useful, is a plumb line. This is a plumb line, but you can also just tie a bit of string to a very large battery or anything that's reasonably heavy so that it provides a nice straight line. The reasons for setting up your bike correctly would be just to make sure that you don't get injured. You'd be surprised how many injuries that I see coming through clinic that are directly related to people just poorly set up on their bike, and that's testament to the sort of hundreds of people that I've seen through clinic in the past few years. Equally with the pro cyclists that I work with, they all get sort of niggles here and there, and they're usually correctable on a bike. Aside from that, it's obviously sensible to look after yourself, warm up, cool down, but this is just exclusively for your position on the bike. There are 3 positions I'm going to talk you through. Number 1 is BDC, which is called bottom dead center position, and that's very easy to work out, and that's the first one we'll work through. The second one is called COPS, K-O-P-S, which stands for knee over pedal spindle, and then the third position is just the arm position or general sort of hand grip position on the bike that we just sort of get correct, because shoulder pain is one of the most common factors that I'll see in clinic. So we'll get started, and we'll start with the BDC, as I said. The first thing with this is you should be looking for about a 30 to 35 degree bend in the knee at your bottom dead center position. So try to get you to put your hands on the bike. Your bottom dead center position is when your foot is level at the bottom end of your pedal stroke. Your knee should have a 30 to 35 degree knee bend. Now Charlie here is definitely a bit outside of that, and if we use the goniometer, we can see that Charlie is actually just around 25. So what we do is drop Charlie by about 10 mil on the saddle, and then reassess, and hopefully we're somewhere within the 30 to 35 degree knee bend range. There are 2 reasons for that. Number 1, you are so much more powerful in that mid-range of your muscle. If you imagine a bicep curl, down the bottom here, it's actually, the weight feels a lot heavier. Through the middle, you have much more power, much more control. And then the other thing is the tendons and the musculature that is operating your limbs are much less likely to be overloaded or overstretched as a result of pushing down for a larger range. The other thing that it does from sort of a geeky cycling point of view is it will automatically increase your cadence, which is generally held to be a positive thing, certainly for hill climbing, but generally for efficiency as well. And then the other thing that it will do, immediately as you lower your saddle, it will reduce your aero silhouette. So your wind resistance when you're cycling will be a bit faster, but bottom end, for back pain, knee pain, most commonly related to this is ITB problems. It will pretty much resolve most of those because you don't overuse them, you certainly don't put enough stress through the muscular tendinous junction to cause any kind of problem. So first and foremost, get your saddle height correct, and that's the variable you correct with this position. So lower the saddle height for a bigger knee bend. Obviously if you're too low on the saddle and your degree knee bend is sort of in the 40s, you'd come up a bit and then reassess. Does involve a little playing around, but it's well worth it. Second position that we'd look at is called COPS, as I said, the knee over pedal spindle. If I get Charlie to bring her foot round to the 3 o'clock position on the pedal stroke, which is just about here. Again, always take the measurement with the foot flat, because that's how your foot should travel through the pedal stroke. And again, homemade plumb line, or if you can be bothered to buy one, place this over the leg, straight down through the midpoint of the knee, or the furthest point of the knee, and then this should drop directly through your pedal spindle. Charlie's is nearly perfect, very nearly perfect, and it drops directly through the pedal spindle, so that's the most powerful point of the pedal stroke. As you're travelling through there, it's important that your foot travels directly through the pedal at that stage. The other thing that I would mention at this point is if you're not correct, and if the knee is sort of travelling somewhere around here, and your foot is coming through your toes, what you wind up with is a bit of toe pointing. That's the most common problem for patellar tendon issues, and also sort of overreaching with your hamstrings. The other thing that it'll do is the ratio of muscles that you use to drive a pedal stroke, which I'll provide a link for here, which is really good for training tips. It really messes around with the ratios of muscles that you use, and you'll either become extremely quad dominant or extremely hamstring dominant, which is already bad for overuse injuries, but again, it really messes with your efficiency as a cyclist. The third thing that I would make sure of is, again, Charlie, put your hands on the hoods, is arm position. What you want, Charlie's a bit sort of reaching here, what you want is a decent 15 to 20 degree bend in the elbow. So what I would do, you take a measurement here. Again, Charlie's is about 6 or 7 degrees. You'd ideally, sorry Charlie if I get you to bend the arm, you ideally want arms about here. So a lot more bent than you think. And again, that's for a couple of simple reasons. One is that you'd want arms to bend so that you're not putting too much blood through your arms when you're holding. If you're bracing with your arms dead straight, then there's isometric contraction through your muscles. That'll hold too much blood through your arms that could be going through your legs and making you fast on the bike, but also creating less tiredness, less lactic acid to circulate through your legs. The other massive reason for that is if you're holding dead straight, you will almost certainly get upper traps pain, neck pain through the top of your shoulders. It is probably the most common thing that I see as a complaint from cyclists, particularly commuter cyclists, sort of holding out like this. It's just not good for bracing through your shoulders. You automatically hold your weight and tension through the top of your back. So avoidable. And the other thing is, from an obvious point of view, is that the more relaxed you are, the lower your heart rate will be. And again, from an efficiency point of view, for the more serious cyclists, it can dramatically lower your heart rate if you bend your arms just even slightly. The other thing that people worry about with that is slamming their stem. So you've got your saddle height and your stem height here. And the difference between the two obviously gives you a slightly better aero silhouette if you're reaching down. That is majoritively avoidable, and it's much more important that your general mechanics of your legs and your pedal stroke is correct, and then set your bars in a comfortable zone where you can sort of bend into your arms and then use your drops for the aero position. That's the way a bike should be designed, and that's where you should ride. So in summary, there are 3 major points that you should look at when setting up your bike if you're doing it yourself. Number 1, bottom dead center position, 30 to 35 degrees knee bend. Make sure it's in that position, it's infinitely better. For those, again, experienced cyclists that are watching this, yes, you can come a bit lower and you will see professionals edging into sort of 28. Lowest that you go is 25 degrees. After that, from an empirical evidence-based point of view, you are losing power and you are causing unnecessary risk through your joints and tendons. So 25 is the lowest you go if you're a really experienced professional. Really, I think most people in the peloton, even the professional peloton nowadays, are sort of just under 30, or if not 30. You and I, if you're an amateur cyclist, 30 to 35. You'd obviously progress down to that the more that you cycle, but as a general rule, really 30 to 35 if you're just starting particularly. The second position is the COPS, and that knee over pedal spindle is really important for the power generated through your pedal. Not only that, for the ratios of muscles that you use within your pedal stroke, which is a huge predictor of efficiency, huge predictor of minimising overuse injuries, and obviously getting the most out of the power that you're exerting. And then third, and probably most obviously, no offence Charlie, but for Charlie, is not having your hands dead straight. It's so common, so easily avoidable. Either bring your stem back, so a shorter stem, or what we'll be doing with Charlie later is just taking a few of the spaces that you can see at the top of her bars, lifting a few of them underneath the stem itself, and just raise that saddle height slightly. It will help with shoulder pain, it will help with the amount of efficiency, and as I say, generally lowering your heart rate for those of you that sort of train regarding heart rate on trainer road. I'll summarise this in a brief document at the bottom, just to sort of hit those points in black and white, and also highlight the degrees and rough ranges of movement that you should be in when setting this up. Obviously it helps to do this in pairs, because you need to be in the cycling position, so you need to have your hands on your bars when you're taking all of these measurements. Hope that's helpful, and I'll leave a link to our website if you want any further information, whether detailed blogs and also articles that relate to everything that